Hello, welcome to my next video. Hopefully you can see this. This is very hard for me to see if this is in the picture, but I'm pretty sure it is, and you can see it. So our next video, and it still pertains to square roots, but it's a different lesson regarding it. What happens when your number you're trying to figure out is not a perfect square? And most numbers are not perfect squares, if you think about it. If you measure the size of your room and it's 50, well, 50 is not a perfect square, right? You don't have two numbers that are the same. If I'm trying to find the square root of 50, two numbers to multiply, there's not two numbers that multiply to get 50 perfectly. The closest number that we get is 7 times 7, which is 49, right? But not 50. So the question is, what happens when the number is not a perfect square? So let's go with 50. Let's just talk about 50. 50 is not a perfect square, but we can estimate it. So we're going to estimate what it would be if we were to take this square root of that. So what we need to do in order to do that, and I highly recommend you do this on a little piece of index, like an index card or something. You want to have, you want to memorize all your perfect squares. So for example, 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So you want to know what all of these numbers, all of these numbers are perfect squares. So I'm just going to make a list here of up to about 10 or 13. I like to have up to 15 memorized so that it's just really simple for me to estimate these. 8 times 8, 64. 9 times 9 is 81. 10 times 10 is 100. 11 times 11 is 121, I believe. 12 times 12 is 144. And 13 times 13 is 169. Yeah. 14 times 14 is 196, and 15 times 15 is 215, if I'm correct, but I may be wrong on that. I'm not going to write that one down, just in case. All right, so we've got all of those. So I'm going to use this as a reference as I'm going through this. So what I'm looking for is the closest number here in my root side. So these numbers, I'm looking for the closest number to 50. So the closest number to 50 is 49. So I'm going to say it's between the square root of 49 and the square root of 64. Because 50 is right about here on my number line between the square root of 49 and 64. Okay, so in order to find the answer, though, I need to look at what the root is. So what is the square root of 49? Well, it's 7. And what is the square root of 64? Well, that's 8. So I'm looking at this kind of as a timeline in between 7 and 8. So the square root of 50 would be right in between, it'd be in between 7 and 8, and it would be really close to 49, right? It would be really close to this, to the 7. So I would say that the square root of 50, I'm going to estimate that at about 7.1. Right about there. Okay. I'm going to attach a Khan Academy video that does this using fractions, which I found it was really interesting method, and it's just really helpful. But you could do lots of things. You could figure out how many spaces are in between 49 and 64, and how many spaces that takes up when I go over 1. There's lots of different ways, but I usually just try to find the closest on a number line and think, okay, what it would be about right at 1. So I would say that's about 7.1, right? Let's do another one. So let's try and figure out the square root of 23. Okay, so the square root of 23. Over here, if I look over here, 23 is not a perfect square. Okay, so I'm going to be looking for numbers that 23 goes in between. So if I look, closest is 25, but that's more than 23. And so 16 is going to be in between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. So I'm going to make a little timeline for that. Okay. And then I'm going to think, okay, where is 23 on this timeline? So it's going to be about right here, right? The square root is about right there. So I'm going to figure out, okay, square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And the square root of 25 is 5. So if I were to rewrite my number line and I look at, it's about right there, well, what is that about between 4 and 5? I would say it'd be about 4.7 or 4.8. Okay, and that's just my guess. It's an estimate. It's meant to be an estimate. It's meant to just get you very close. Now, there is a way to do this on your calculator, and I will do that in another video. So it's very easy to figure out with your calculator, but this is something that is helpful in just estimating and getting number sense down. So this is something that's going to help your brain function mathematically. Obviously, we can use a calculator to find things very easily. So in my next video, I will show you how to do that.